Kilthera floated in the observation chamber of the research vessel Serenity's Edge, watching the stars through the large window. The Valerian scientist had spent 3 years studying distant planets, cataloging life forms that lived far from their home world. Today felt like any other day until the alarm started screaming. The sound cut through the peaceful silence like a knife. Red lights flashed across the white walls of the ship. Kilthera's large dark eyes widened as fear shot through their thin body. They had never heard these alarms before. Their people had not known war for over 1,000 years. All crew to emergency stations, came the voice over the ship's speakers. The captain sounded scared. Kilthera had never heard their captain sound scared. Kilthera rushed to the main deck on their long, thin legs. Other Valerians moved around them, their pale blue skin even paler than usual. Everyone looked confused and frightened. The Valerians were a peaceful people. They had never faced real danger. "What is happening?" Kilthera asked Dr. Ventar, the ship's chief scientist. "Unknown vessels approaching," Ventar replied, his voice shaking. "They refuse to answer our calls. They are moving fast and heading straight for us." Kilthera looked at the main screen. 3 dark ships flew toward them. The ships looked rough and ugly, covered in metal plates and strange weapons. They were nothing like the smooth, elegant vessels the Valerians built. "Are they pirates?" someone asked. "No," said Captain Silvana from her command chair. "These are military ships, human military ships." The word human sent a chill through the bridge. All Valerians knew about humans. They were the young, violent race from a small blue planet. The Valerians had watched them from far away for many years. Humans fought wars constantly. They killed each other over land, resources, and ideas. The Valerian Council had decided long ago to avoid contact with humans. "Why are they here?" Kilthera whispered. The answer came quickly. The human ships opened fire without warning. Bright beams of energy hit the Serenity's Edge. The ship shook hard, throwing several Valerians to the floor. Sparks flew from control panels. The lights flickered. "Shields failing," reported the ship's engineer. "They are cutting through our defenses like paper." More shots hit the ship. This time, something exploded near the engine room. The artificial gravity stopped working for a moment, making everyone float in the air before it came back on. "Send a surrender signal," Captain Silvana ordered. "Tell them we are scientists. We are not armed. We do not want to fight." The communications officer tried to send the message, but the humans did not stop shooting. They fired again and again, until the ship's defenses completely failed. "They are sending boarding pods," the engineer reported. "They are going to come inside." Kilthera felt terror like they had never known. Their people could read minds, but only with other Valerians. They could not read human thoughts. They had no idea what the humans wanted or what they planned to do. The first explosion came from the cargo bay. Metal doors that had been sealed shut were blown apart. Heavy boots stomped through the corridors. The sounds got closer and closer. "Everyone, stay calm," Captain Silvana said, but her voice shook with fear. The bridge doors exploded inward. Smoke filled the room. Through the smoke came the humans. Kilthera had seen pictures of humans before, but seeing them in person was different. They were shorter than Valerians, but much thicker and stronger. They wore dark armor and carried weapons that looked deadly. Their faces were hidden behind metal masks with glowing red eyes. The first human through the door was larger than the others. He removed his helmet, showing a face with hard features and cold, dark eyes. His black hair was cut very short. He looked around the bridge like a predator studying prey. "I am Captain Hyunwoo of the Earth Defense Force," he said in perfect Valerian language. "This vessel is now under human control." Another human stepped beside him. This one was smaller and had long black hair tied back. She kept her weapon pointed at the Valerians. "I'm Lieutenant Boram," she said. "Anyone who resists will be shot." Captain Silvana stood up slowly, her hands raised. "We are peaceful researchers. We have done nothing wrong. Why are you attacking us?" Captain Hyunwoo smiled, but it was not a kind smile. "You have something we need. Your people can read minds and send thoughts across space. We need that ability. Our telepathy is not a weapon," Dr. Ventar said. We use it only for communication and research. Everything is a weapon if you know how to use it, Boram replied. More human soldiers entered the bridge. They moved with perfect coordination, like they had done this many times before. Some watched the Valerians while others checked the ship's systems. Scan them, Hyunwoo ordered. One soldier pointed a small device at each Valerian. The device beeped as it examined them. This one has the strongest psychic resonance, the soldier said, pointing at Kythera. Perfect for our needs. Kythera backed away, but there was nowhere to go. What do you want with me? You are going to help us win a war, Hyunwoo said. Your people's abilities will give us a great advantage over our enemies. We will not help you fight, Captain Sylvana said firmly. The Valerians do not participate in violence. Hyunwoo looked at her for a long moment. Then he pulled out his weapon and shot Dr. Ventar. The energy beam hit the old scientist in the chest. He screamed once and fell to the floor dead. The other Valerians cried out in shock and horror. Kythera stared at the body of their friend and colleague. They had never seen death before. Their people died of old age in peaceful beds, surrounded by family. This was murder. Now you will help us, Hyunwoo said calmly, as if he had not just killed someone, or more of your people will die. The humans forced the surviving Valerians into the cargo bay of their ship. The inside of the human vessel was dark and covered in metal. Everything looked designed for war. Weapons lined the walls. The air smelled of oil and gunpowder. As they walked through the corridors, Kythera tried to understand what was happening. Their people had always believed that intelligence and peace were the highest virtues. How could a species become so advanced while remaining so violent? They were pushed into a small room with metal walls and no windows. The door slammed shut with a loud clang. A small slot opened in the door, and food was pushed through. The food was strange and tasted terrible, but they ate it to stay alive. Hours passed in darkness. Kythera could hear their fellow Valerians crying softly. They were all scientists and researchers. They had never experienced violence or cruelty. The death of Dr. Ventar had shaken them all deeply. Finally, the door opened again. Captain Hyunwoo entered with 2 guards. You, he said, pointing at Kythera. Come with us. Kythera stood on shaking legs. Where are you taking me? To begin your education, Hyunwoo replied. You are going to learn what humans are really capable of. And once you understand, you will help us use that knowledge to destroy our enemies. As they dragged Kythera from the cell, the young Valerian wondered if they would ever see their home world again. They had no idea that their real nightmare was just beginning. 3 weeks had passed since the humans captured Kythera. The Valerian scientist now lived in a small white room inside a massive space station. The room had a bed, a desk, and a tiny window that showed only stars. Guards brought food 3 times a day, but no one spoke to them. Every morning, human scientists came to run tests. They attached strange machines to Kythera's head and made them solve puzzles while measuring their brain activity. The tests were not painful, but they were exhausting. The humans wanted to understand how Valerian telepathy worked. Today was different. Instead of the usual scientists, Captain Hyunwoo entered the room with a woman Kythera had never seen before. This is Dr. Da-eun, Hyunwoo said. She leads our research into psychic abilities. Dr. Da-eun was a small woman with short black hair and thick glasses. She carried a tablet computer and wore a white coat covered in strange symbols. Her eyes were kind, but Kythera had learned not to trust human kindness. Hello, Kythera, Da-eun said softly. I hope you have been comfortable here. Why are you keeping me prisoner? Kythera asked. My people have done nothing to harm humans. You are not a prisoner, Da-eun replied. You are a research partner. We need your help to save lives. Whose lives? Human lives, said another voice from the doorway. A tall man entered the room. He had gray hair and tired eyes. I am Dr. Taeho, head of military research. May I sit down? Kythera nodded. Taeho sat in the room's only chair while Da-eun remained standing with her tablet. What do you know about the hegemony? Tejo asked. Nothing, Kythera replied honestly. The hegemony is a group of alien races that control most of this part of the galaxy, Tejo explained. They believe that only the strongest species deserve to exist. They have destroyed hundreds of worlds and enslaved millions of beings. That sounds terrible, Kythera said. But what does this have to do with me? The hegemony is planning to attack Earth, Daun said. Our spies have learned that they will strike within 6 months. We need every advantage we can get if we want to survive. Your telepathic abilities could help our soldiers coordinate better, Tejo added. Instead of using radio signals that can be jammed or intercepted, they could communicate through your mind. Kythera felt sick. You want me to help humans kill other beings? We want you to help humans defend themselves, Hyunwoo said firmly. The hegemony will not negotiate. They will not show mercy. They will either destroy us or make us slaves. Even if that is true, I cannot help you fight, Kythera said. My people do not believe in violence. Your people have never faced extinction, Daun replied. Sometimes violence is the only way to protect what you love. They left Kythera alone to think. The young Valerians stared out the window at the stars and wondered what they should do. Their people had always taught that violence was wrong, no matter the reason. But if the humans were telling the truth about the hegemony, then refusing to help might mean the death of billions. The next day, Daun returned with a new proposal. We want to run a test, she said. We will not force you to help us fight, but we would like you to experience what human soldiers go through during combat training. Why? Kythera asked. So you can understand what we are asking of you, Daun replied. If you see how humans think and feel during battle, you can make a better decision about helping us. Against their better judgment, Kythera agreed. Daun led them through the station's corridors to a large room filled with strange equipment. In the center was a chair surrounded by machines with blinking lights and spinning discs. This is our telepathic interface, Daun explained. It will allow you to connect your mind to a human soldier during a training exercise. Is it safe? Kythera asked. We have tested it many times, Tejo said as he entered the room. There is no physical danger, but I must warn you, experiencing human thoughts during combat can be intense. A young man in military uniform entered the room. He was tall and muscular with short black hair and several scars on his face. His eyes were hard and alert, constantly watching for threats. This is Sergeant Ji-hoon, Daun said. He has volunteered to be your partner for this test. Ji-hoon nodded at Kythera but said nothing. He sat in a chair next to the telepathic interface while technicians attached wires to his head. The training exercise will last 30 minutes, Tejo explained. Ji-hoon and his squad will attempt to rescue hostages from a building controlled by enemy forces. You will experience everything he experiences. Kythera sat in the interface chair. Daun attached several devices to their head. The machines hummed quietly as they warmed up. Are you ready? Daun asked. Kythera nodded, though they felt far from ready. Beginning connection in 3, 2, 1. Suddenly, Kythera was no longer in the laboratory. They were standing in a dark alley outside a tall building. Rain fell from a gray sky, soaking through their clothes. But these were not their clothes. They were wearing heavy armor and carrying a weapon. No, not they. Ji-hoon was wearing the armor and carrying the weapon. Kythera was experiencing the world through his senses, feeling what he felt, thinking what he thought. Alpha Team, move to position, came a voice through Ji-hoon's radio. Hostiles confirmed on floors 3 through 7. Civilians on the top floor. Ji-hoon's heart rate increased, but not from fear. Kythera felt excitement flowing through. The human's mind. He was looking forward to the fight. Copy that, Control. Ji-hoon whispered into his radio. Beginning approach. He moved toward the building with smooth, practiced steps. Every shadow was checked for enemies. Every window was scanned for movement. His mind worked like a computer, processing dozens of details every second. 2 other soldiers joined him at the building's entrance. Ji-hoon communicated with them using hand signals. Kythera was amazed at how much information they could share without speaking. The first enemy appeared as they entered the lobby. A simulated alien soldier stepped out from behind a pillar, raising its weapon. In the real exercise, this would be a hologram or a robot, but through Ji-hoon's mind, it seemed completely real. Ji-hoon reacted instantly. His weapon fired 3 times before Kythera even realized what was happening. The enemy fell to the ground, dead, but Ji-hoon felt no sadness or regret. To him, the enemy was just another obstacle to overcome. His mind was already focused on the next threat. They fought their way up the building floor by floor. Each level brought new enemies and new challenges. Ji-hoon and his team moved like a machine designed for killing. When their weapons ran out of ammunition, they picked up enemy weapons. When those broke, they used knives. When they lost their knives, they used their bare hands. Kythera was horrified by the violence, but also fascinated by the human's skill. They turned every piece of furniture into a weapon or shield. They used broken glass to cut enemy communications cables. They even used the building's fire sprinkler system to create chaos among their opponents. But the worst part was how much Ji-hoon enjoyed it. Through their mental link, Kythera felt the human's excitement grow with each fight. He was not just completing a mission, he was having fun. The climax came on the 7th floor. Ji-hoon's team was surrounded by enemies with only one way out. A narrow corridor led to the stairs, but it was filled with hostile forces. "I'll clear the path," Ji-hoon said into his radio. "Cover me." He pulled out a grenade and ran straight toward the enemies. Kythera screamed inside his mind, begging him to find another way. But Ji-hoon was smiling as he charged into almost certain death. He threw the grenade and dove to the side just as it exploded. The blast killed several enemies and opened a path to the stairs. But shrapnel from the explosion hit Ji-hoon in the leg and arm. Blood soaked through his armor. "Man down," one of his teammates shouted. "Negative," Ji-hoon replied, struggling to stand. "Mission continues. The civilians are more important than my injuries." They fought their way to the top floor, where the simulated hostages were waiting. Ji-hoon collapsed as soon as the exercise ended, his wounds finally overcoming his determination. Kythera felt the mental connection break as technicians rushed to help the injured soldier. Back in their own body, the Valerian scientist was shaking uncontrollably. "How do you feel?" Da-yoon asked. Kythera could not answer. They had experienced 30 minutes of pure human warfare, and it had changed them forever. The violence was terrible, but what frightened them most was how natural it seemed to Ji-hoon. Humans did not just fight when they had to. They were born to fight. "I need time to think," Kythera whispered. "Of course," Taeho said gently. "Take all the time you need." But as the guards escorted Kythera back to their room, the young Valerian knew that no amount of time would help them forget what they had experienced. They had touched the mind of a human warrior, and the memory would haunt them forever. 2 days after the training exercise with Ji-hoon, Kythera was still trying to process what they had experienced. The violence had been terrible, but the humans' enjoyment of it was worse. Every time they closed their eyes, they could feel Ji-hoon's excitement as he fought his way through the building. The Valerian scientist was reading in their room when the alarm started. This time, the sound was different from the alarms on their research ship. These were louder, more urgent, and they went on much longer. Red lights flashed in the corridors outside. Through their small window, Kythera could see human soldiers running between buildings on the space station. Everyone moved with purpose, but there was no panic. Dr. Da-eun burst into the room without knocking. Her usually neat hair was messy, and her face was pale. "We need you now," she said quickly. "The hegemony has found us. They are attacking the station." "What?" Kythera stood up so fast they almost fell over. "I thought you said they would not attack for months." "We were wrong," Da-eun replied. "Our spies gave us bad information. The hegemony has been planning this attack for weeks." The floor shook as something exploded nearby. Dust fell from the ceiling, and the lights flickered. "How many ships?" Kythera asked. 50 enemy vessels, Da-eun said. "They have us completely surrounded. Our only chance is to coordinate our defenses perfectly." "And you want me to help with that?" "Yes," Da-eun said. "We need you to connect with our strike teams. With your telepathic abilities, they can work together like never before." Kythera felt sick. I told you I cannot help humans fight. Then we will all die, Daun said simply. The hegemony does not take prisoners. They will kill everyone, on this station including you. Another explosion shook the station. This one was much closer. Through the window, Kythera could see pieces of burning metal floating in space. The choice is yours, Daun said. Help us fight, or watch everyone die. Kythera closed their eyes and tried to think. Everything their people had taught them said that violence was wrong, but if they did nothing, thousands of humans would die, and the hegemony would eventually find the Valerian homeworld too. If I help you, Kythera said slowly, what exactly would I have to do? Connect your mind to our strike team leaders, Daun explained. Let them share thoughts and coordinate their attacks through your telepathy. How many humans? 5. Team leaders, Daun replied. Each commanding a squad of 20 soldiers. Kythera had never tried to connect with so many minds at once. With other Valerians, they could easily handle 10 or 12 connections. But human minds were different. They were louder, more chaotic, full of emotions that Valerians rarely experienced. I do not know if I can handle that many human minds, Kythera said. You have to try, Daun replied. It is our only hope. They ran through corridors filled with smoke and sparks. Human soldiers rushed past them, carrying weapons and equipment. Everyone moved with the same deadly efficiency that Kythera had seen in Ji-hoon. The telepathic laboratory had been moved to a bunker deep inside the station. The room was protected by thick metal walls and multiple security doors. Dr. Taeho was waiting for them with 5 human soldiers. These are your team leaders, Taeho said quickly. Lieutenant Minho commands Alpha Team. Sergeant Ga-eun leads Beta Team. Corporal Do-yun heads Gamma Team. Private Ye-jin runs Delta Team. And Staff Sergeant Woo-seok controls Echo Team. Kythera looked at each human face. They all had the same hard expression as Ji-hoon. These were professional killers, and they were about to share their minds with a peaceful Valerian scientist. Is everyone ready? Taeho asked. The soldiers nodded. Kythera sat in the telepathic interface while technicians attached the connection devices to their head and to each human. Beginning connection in 3, 2, 1. The world exploded into chaos. 5 human minds crashed into Kythera's consciousness like waves hitting a beach. Each soldier was thinking different thoughts, feeling different emotions, seeing different parts of the battle. Through Minho's eyes, Kythera saw enemy ships firing at the station. The lieutenant was on the outer deck, using a large weapon to shoot back. His mind was calm and focused, calculating the best targets. Was inside the station, fighting alien soldiers who had broken through the hull. Her thoughts were quick and sharp as she moved through corridors, shooting enemies and protecting civilians. She felt excited by the danger. Do-yun was in the engineering section, trying to repair damaged systems while enemy forces tried to break down the doors. His mind was split between technical problems and combat tactics. He was scared but refused to give up. Ye-jin was leading her team through ventilation shafts, trying to reach enemy soldiers from behind. Her thoughts were patient and careful. She enjoyed the challenge of moving unseen through the station. Woo-seok was coordinating with the station's defenses, directing weapon systems and fighter squadrons. His mind processed hundreds of details at once, tracking every ship and soldier in the battle. But the worst part was feeling all their emotions at the same time. The humans were not just fighting to survive. They were enjoying themselves. Each kill brought satisfaction. Each successful tactic brought pride. Each narrow escape brought excitement. Alpha Team, move to Section 7, Kythera heard themselves say, but the words came from Minho's tactical knowledge. Beta Team, clear the corridor and support the engineers. Gamma Team, hold position until Alpha arrives. The connection was working. The 5 teams could now coordinate their actions through Kythera's mind. But the mental strain was enormous. Human thoughts were so different from Valerian thoughts. They were violent and aggressive in ways that made Kythera feel sick. Through Ga-eun's mind, they experienced a close combat fight with a Sectar warrior. The alien was twice as tall as a human and covered in scales like armor. Its claws were as long as knives and its teeth could bite through metal. But Gaun was not afraid. She moved around the creature like a dancer, using its size against it. When it tried to grab her, she rolled under its arms. When it tried to bite her, she jumped onto its back. She used her knife to find gaps between its scales, stabbing again and again until it fell dead. The Sectaur's blood covered Gaun's armor, but she felt proud of her victory. Through the mental link, Keylethara felt that pride too, and it made them want to vomit. Enemy boarding party in Section 12, came a report through Do-Yun's radio. We need immediate support. Delta team is closest, Keylethara Minho replied. Yejin, can you reach them? Negative, Yejin thought back. We are pinned down by sniper fire. Then we improvise, Wusok's mind added. Do-Yun, can you cause a power failure in Section 12? Already working on it, Do-Yun replied. Through his eyes, Keylethara watched the corporal rewire control panels while enemy soldiers tried to break down the door behind him. Sparks flew from damaged circuits and smoke filled the air. Do-Yun's hands moved quickly and precisely, even as explosions shook the room. Power cut in 10 seconds, he announced. All teams prepare for darkness, Minho ordered. The lights went out across Section 12. But the humans had night vision equipment, while the alien invaders did not. In the darkness, Yejin's team struck like ghosts, killing enemies who could not see them coming. The battle continued for hours. Through 5 different sets of eyes, Keylethara experienced every moment of the fighting. They felt bullets whiz past human heads. They smelled the smoke from burning equipment. They tasted blood when soldiers bit their tongues during explosions. But worse than the physical sensations were the mental ones. Each human mind was like a storm of violence and aggression. They thought about killing the way Valerians thought about art or science. It was natural to them, even beautiful. The turning point came when Yejin's team reached the enemy command center. Through her eyes, Keylethara saw the alien leaders coordinating their attack. They were tall, thin creatures with gray skin and large black eyes. They looked almost peaceful like Valerians. I can take out their commanders, Yejin thought through the link, but I will not survive the mission. Negative, Minho replied immediately. Find another way. There is no other way, Yejin responded. They are too well protected, but if I can kill their leaders, the attack will fall apart. Keylethara felt the humans' determination through their mental connection. Yejin was ready to die to complete her mission. She was not sad or afraid. She was excited about the chance to make such an important sacrifice. Do it, Wusok ordered. We will remember your sacrifice. It has been an honor fighting with you, Yejin said. Through her eyes, Keylethara watched the young human woman pull out explosive charges. She attached them to her own armor, turning herself into a living bomb. For Earth, Yejin whispered. She ran into the command center, shooting alien guards as she charged toward their leaders. Enemy weapons fired at her, hitting her arms and legs. Blood poured from her wounds, but she kept running, just as she reached. The alien commanders Yejin triggered the explosives. The blast killed her instantly, along with every alien in the room. Through the other mental connections, Keylethara felt the human soldiers' reaction to their comrade's death. They were sad, but also proud. Yejin had died as a hero, and that made her death meaningful to them. The destruction of the enemy command sent her through the hegemony attack into chaos, without their leaders. The attack on the research station was only the beginning. Over the next 2 months, Keylethara watched as the war between humans and the hegemony spread across the galaxy like a deadly infection. The Valerian scientists now lived in a larger room with better food and more books. The humans treated them well, but Keylethara knew they were still a prisoner. They were too valuable to let go. Every few days, Dr. Daun would come with reports from the front lines. Each report was worse than the last. The hegemony attacked. Our colony on New Sol yesterday, Daun said during one visit. 50,000 civilians were killed in the first hour. Keylethara felt sick. How many colonies have they destroyed now? 7, Daun replied. But we have learned something important from each attack. The hegemony is not as strong as they want us to believe. What do you mean? Their weapons are more advanced than ours, but their tactics are predictable, Daun explained. They expect enemies to surrender after the first attack. They do not know how to fight an opponent who refuses to give up. Through the window of their room, Kythera could see human warships coming and going from the station. There were more ships each day. The human military was growing larger and more organized. Are you winning the war? Kythera asked. Da-Yun was quiet for a long moment. We are not losing, she finally said. That is the best we can hope for right now. 3 days later, Kythera was brought to a new facility. This one was much larger than the research station. It was a military command center built inside a huge asteroid. Thousands of humans worked here, planning battles and coordinating attacks. Their new room was in the center of the facility, surrounded by layers of protection. The humans were taking no chances with their telepathic weapon. Dr. Tejo visited them on the first day. We need your help with something bigger, he said. The hegemony is planning a massive attack on 3 human systems at once. If they succeed, they will cut our territory in half. How many minds do you want me to connect with? Kythera asked. 30, Tejo replied. Kythera's eyes widened. 30? That is impossible. I barely survived connecting with 5 humans. We have improved the interface, Tejo said. The new system will help filter the mental noise and reduce the strain on your mind. What if it does not work? What if the connection kills me? Then we will all die anyway, Tejo said simply. Without perfect coordination, our forces cannot win against such overwhelming odds. The next day, Kythera was brought to the largest telepathic laboratory they had ever seen. The room was filled with computers and machines that hummed with power. 30 chairs were arranged in a circle around a central platform where Kythera would sit. Admiral Yunseo entered the room with 29 other humans. She was a tall woman with gray hair and sharp eyes. She moved like a soldier despite wearing the uniform of a fleet commander. These are our best officers, Yunseo said. Each one commands a different part of our defense. If we can link their minds through you, we can coordinate attacks across 3 star systems simultaneously. General Wu Jin stepped forward. He was a large man with scars on his face and hands. The battle will last at least 12 hours, he said. Can you maintain the connections for that long? I do not know, Kythera replied honestly. I have never tried anything like this before. None of us have, Yunseo said. But we must try or the war ends today. The officers took their seats in the circle. Technicians attached the connection devices to everyone's heads. Kythera sat in the center, surrounded by 30 human minds waiting to be linked. Beginning connection, Dr. Da-Yun announced. The 30 minds crashed into Kythera's consciousness like a tsunami. Each human was thinking about different things, seeing different battlefields, commanding different types of soldiers and ships. Through Admiral Yunseo's mind, Kythera saw the overall strategic situation. The hegemony had sent 3 massive fleets to attack human colonies. Each fleet had hundreds of ships and thousands of soldiers. General Wu Jin was coordinating ground forces on the planet Harmony. Enemy troops were landing in multiple locations, trying to capture the main cities. His thoughts were focused on moving soldiers and weapons to where they were needed most. Commander Jae Sung was in charge of the space battle above New Kyoto. His fleet was outnumbered 3-1, but he was using hit-and-run tactics to slowly wear down the enemy ships. Colonel Su-min was leading special forces behind enemy lines on Terra Nova. Her teams were sabotaging hegemony supply lines and communication systems. The mental strain was enormous. 30 human minds all thinking and feeling at once created a storm of information that threatened to tear Kythera's consciousness apart. But somehow, the new interface helped manage the chaos. Through the linked minds, Kythera experienced the full scope of human warfare. It was not just about individual soldiers fighting and dying. It was about coordinating millions of people and thousands of machines across vast distances, and the humans were good at it. Better than good. They were natural masters of organized violence. Enemy fleet moving to attack our supply convoy. Commander Jae-sung reported through the mental link. I can intercept them, but it will leave New Kyoto undefended. Hold your position, Admiral Yoon Seo replied through Kyle Thera's telepathy. Colonel Sumin's teams will destroy the supply depot before the convoy arrives. Confirmed, Sumin's mind responded. We are already moving to the target. Through the colonel's eyes, Kyle Thera watched human special forces infiltrate an alien base. The soldiers moved like shadows, killing guards silently and planting explosives on critical systems. The humans did not just fight their enemies. They studied them. Every alien tactic was analyzed and countered. Every weakness was exploited. Every strength was turned against its owner. Hegemony forces are retreating from Sector 7, General Wu Jin reported. Should we pursue? Negative, Admiral Yoon Seo replied. It is a trap. Let them go and reposition our forces to defend Sector 12. Through the mental link, Kyle Thara felt Yoon Seo's strategic thinking. The Admiral was not just reacting to enemy moves, she was predicting them. Humans had studied hegemony tactics for months, learning their patterns and preferences. The battle raged for hours. Kyle Thera experienced every victory and defeat through 30 different perspectives. They felt the satisfaction when human ships destroyed enemy vessels. They shared the frustration when alien forces captured strategic positions. But most disturbing was how the humans reacted to casualties. When entire squadrons were destroyed, the commanders felt sad for a moment, then immediately started planning how to use the enemy's temporary weakness. We have lost contact with the 5th Fleet, Commander Jae-sung reported. All hands presumed dead. Understood, Admiral Yoon Seo replied calmly. Their sacrifice will not be wasted. The enemy fleet that destroyed them is now out of position. Colonel Min-seok, take your battle group and attack their flanks. Through Colonel Min-seok's mind, Kilthar experienced a space battle from the bridge of a human warship. The ship shook as enemy weapons hit its shields. Sparks flew from control panels. The air filled with smoke. But Min-seok was smiling as he gave orders to his crew. This was what humans were designed for. Organized violence on a massive scale. Target their command ship, he ordered. All weapons, maximum power. The human ship's weapons fired at once, sending beams of energy across space. The enemy command ship's shields flickered and failed. A second volley broke it apart completely. Command ship destroyed, Min-seok reported through the mental link. Enemy fleet is in chaos. All units, attack now, Admiral Yoon Seo ordered. Hit them before they can reorganize. Through 30 different minds, Kyle Thera felt the entire human military move as one organism. Ships changed course simultaneously. Ground forces advanced at exactly the right moments. Special operations teams struck at precisely coordinated times. It was beautiful and terrible at the same time. The humans had turned warfare into an art form. The battle turned in humanity's favor when Colonel Sumin's team successfully destroyed 3 hegemony supply depots. Without fuel and ammunition, the alien fleets began to retreat. Enemy forces withdrawing from all 3 systems, General Wu Jin reported. Victory confirmed. But the victory came at a terrible cost. Thousands of human soldiers and civilians had died. Entire cities had been destroyed. Several human ships had been lost with all hands. Yet through the mental links, Kyle Thara felt only satisfaction from the human commanders. They had won, and that was all that mattered. As the connections ended, Kyle Thara collapsed in exhaustion. Experiencing 30 human minds for 12 hours had pushed them beyond their limits. How do you feel? Dr. Da-yoon asked as medical technicians checked Kyle Thera's vital signs. Broken, Kyle Thera whispered. How do you live with so much violence in your minds? It is not violence, Admiral Yoon Seo said as she approached. It is purpose. Everything we do is to protect what we love. Even the killing. Especially the killing, General Wu Jin replied. Every enemy we destroy today cannot harm our families tomorrow. Kyle Thera stared at the human officers. They were not monsters. They genuinely believed they were doing the right thing. But their definition of right included acts that would horrify any other species. The war is far from over, Admiral Seo said. The hegemony will send larger fleets, better weapons, more soldiers. 6 months after the Great Battle, the war had changed everything. Kythera now lived in the most secure facility in human space, deep inside a fortress built into an asteroid. Their room was comfortable, but they knew they would never leave. Humans had won every major battle since Kythera began helping them. The hegemony, once confident in their superiority, now spoke of peace negotiations. But Kythera had learned enough about human thinking to know that peace was not what the humans wanted. Fleet Commander HFY visited Kythera on a cold morning. She was a young woman with black hair and dark eyes that seemed to see everything. She had replaced Admiral Seo after the older woman died in a battle 3 months ago. We need to discuss the final operation, HFY said as she sat down across from Kythera. Final operation? Kythera asked. I thought the hegemony wanted to surrender. They do, HFY replied with a cold smile. But surrender is not enough anymore. What do you mean? The hegemony has oppressed hundreds of worlds for thousands of years, HFY explained. They have enslaved entire species and destroyed countless civilizations. Simply stopping their attacks on humanity is not justice. Kythera felt a chill of fear. What are you planning? Complete victory, HFY said. We are going to destroy the hegemony's ability to wage war forever. How? By attacking their core worlds, HFY replied. 7 planets where the hegemony's leadership lives and their military is based. If we can capture or destroy these worlds, the entire hegemony will collapse. Kythera's eyes widened. That would mean killing billions of beings. Yes, HFY said simply, but it would also free trillions of beings who are currently enslaved. Sometimes the greatest mercy requires the greatest cruelty. I will not help you commit genocide, Kythera said firmly. It is not genocide, HFY replied. We are not trying to destroy the hegemony species. We are trying to destroy their ability to harm others. There is a difference. Is there? Kythera asked. How many innocent beings will die in your attack? Fewer than will die if the hegemony continues to exist, HFY said. We have calculated the numbers carefully. In the long term, our attack will save more lives than it costs. Over the next week, human scientists upgraded the telepathic interface again. This time they wanted Kythera to connect with over 100 human minds simultaneously. The mental strain would be enormous, possibly fatal. The new system has safeguards, Dr. Dayun explained. If your mind starts to break down, the connections will automatically shut off. And if that happens during the battle? Kythera asked. Then, millions of humans will die, Dayun replied honestly. Without perfect coordination, our forces cannot succeed against the hegemony's home defenses. The day of the final battle arrived. Kythera was brought to a massive command center filled with hundreds of officers and technicians. Giant screens showed star maps with thousands of ships moving toward the hegemony core worlds. General Kyung-ho stepped forward. He was an older man with gray hair and tired eyes. This is the largest military operation in human history, he said. 7 simultaneous attacks across 7 star systems, over 2 million soldiers and 10,000 ships. Why so many? Kythera asked. Because the hegemony core worlds are the most heavily defended places in the galaxy, General Kyung-ho replied. Each planet has orbital weapons platforms, shield generators, and massive fleets. This will not be easy. 107 officers took their positions around the telepathic interface. Kythera recognized some faces from previous battles. Others were new, promoted to replace officers who had died fighting. Are you ready? Dr. Tejo asked. Kythera was not ready. They would never be ready for this, but they nodded anyway. Beginning. Connection. The human minds crashed into Kythera's consciousness like a tidal wave. 107 different perspectives, all focused on violence and destruction. The mental strain was beyond anything they had ever experienced. Through Fleet Commander HFY's mind, Kythera saw the overall battle plan. It was not just an attack. It was a carefully orchestrated campaign of terror designed to break the hegemony's will to fight. Captain Jinne was leading the assault on Hegemony Prime, the species' homeworld. Her battle group included the most advanced human warships equipped with weapons that could crack a planet's crust. Colonel Kyung-ho commanded ground forces preparing to land on Sector Central. His soldiers were not just planning to capture military targets. They intended to destroy the planet's entire government structure. Through these mines and dozens of others, Kythera experienced the opening moments of humanity's final assault. Human ships dropped out of hyperspace around 7 different worlds simultaneously. The coordinated attack caught the hegemony completely by surprise. But what horrified Kythera most was not the violence itself, but how much the humans enjoyed it. Through their mental connections, they felt genuine pleasure as they destroyed enemy ships and conquered alien worlds. Captain Jinne smiled as her weapons tore apart hegemony defense platforms. "Target their civilian communications," she ordered. "I want them to know we are coming." "Why target civilians?" her tactical officer asked. "Fear is a weapon too," Jinne replied. "If they are terrified, they will make mistakes." Through Colonel Kyung-ho's eyes, Kythera watched human soldiers storm an alien city. The soldiers moved with perfect efficiency, capturing government buildings and military bases. But they also destroyed cultural centers, universities, and hospitals. "Why are you attacking non-military targets?" Kythera asked through the mental link. "Everything is a military target," Kyung-ho replied. "Their culture teaches them to oppress others. Their schools train their leaders. Their hospitals treat their soldiers. Destroy it all and you destroy their ability to make war." The battles raged across 7 star systems. Through over 100 different perspectives, Kythera experienced the full scope of human military power. It was not just about superior weapons or tactics. Humans had turned warfare into a science with every aspect carefully planned and executed. But the most disturbing part was how the humans reacted when they encountered unexpected resistance. Instead of becoming frustrated or afraid, they became excited. They enjoyed the challenge of overcoming difficult obstacles. "Heavy resistance at the Capitol building," reported Major Do-hyun from Sector Central. "Enemy forces are dug in deep." "Use the orbital bombardment," Colonel Kyung-ho ordered casually. "Level the entire district." "Sir, there are thousands of civilians in that area," Do-hyun protested. "There are also enemy command centers," Kyung-ho replied. "Acceptable losses." Through the mental link, Kythera felt the colonel's thoughts as he ordered the destruction of an entire city district. He was not angry or sad about the civilian deaths. He simply saw them as a necessary cost of victory. The bombardment began minutes later. Beams of energy fell from orbit like deadly rain, turning buildings into dust and people into ash. Kythera experienced the attack through the minds of the ship crews firing the weapons. They felt proud of their accuracy and efficiency. "District destroyed," Major Do-hyun reported. "All enemy resistance eliminated." "Excellent," Kyung-ho replied. "Move to the next target." The battle continued for 18 hours. Through the mental connections, Kythera experienced every moment of humanity's greatest military victory. One by one, the hegemony core worlds fell to human forces. But victory was not enough for the humans. Even after their enemies surrendered, they continued attacking. They wanted to ensure that the hegemony could never threaten anyone again. "Planetary government has surrendered," reported Captain Sung-hee from Hegemony Prime. "They are requesting terms." "No terms," Fleet Commander Haewon replied through the mental link. "Complete destruction of all military assets. Arrest all government leaders, dismantle their entire industrial base." "That will take months," Captain Sung-hee said. "Then we stay for months," Haewon replied. "This ends when I say it ends." Through the mental connections, Kythera felt the satisfaction in human minds as they dismantled the hegemony piece by piece. They were not just winning a war, they were erasing their enemy's ability to ever fight again. The final horror came when Kyle realized that the humans had planned this level of destruction from the beginning. The entire war had been designed to justify the complete conquest of hegemony space. You planned this, Kyle said through the mental link. You wanted the hegemony to attack you. Of course, HFY replied without shame. We knew they would eventually try to destroy us. Better to fight them when we choose than when they choose. But you could have negotiated. You could have found a peaceful solution. Peace with slavers and murderers? General Kyung-ho laughed through the connection. The only peace with evil is its complete destruction. As the connections finally ended, Kyle collapsed completely. 18 hours connected to over 100 human minds had pushed them far beyond their limits. Medical technicians rushed to check their vital signs while Dr. Dae-yoon monitored their brain activity. Are they alive? Someone asked. Yes, Dae-yoon replied. But their mind has been severely damaged. They may never fully recover. Fleet Commander HFY approached the medical table where Kyle lay unconscious. Will they be able to help us in future operations? I do not know, Dae-yoon said. They may not even remember.